With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Well, after losing Ozzy Osbourne, Malcolm Jamal Warner, these are people from my youth. We have lost today Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan has died at the age of 71. The WWE icon, Rocky 4? No, Rocky 3. He was in Rocky 3. Actor, Trump supporter, reality TV star, Hulk Hogan, who was just iconic, has sadly passed from what we are being told, cardiac arrest in his Clearwater, Florida home. This happened early this morning. There were police cars and EMTs parked outside. You could see the star carried out on a stretcher into an ambulance, and from what we're told, he died of cardiac arrest. Now, his wife, Ski, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, had denied rumors for a while that he was in a coma and he was ill, but he had been on Fox and Friends and had looked very, very tan, a little discolored, almost the Addisons sort of JFK bronzing. His eyes didn't look that good, and people were wondering about his heart. And his wife had said his heart was strong, but he had issues with recent surgery. He had a routine neck surgery, multiple back surgeries, I think knee surgeries. I believe he had said that he had 25 surgeries in the past decade. And being an athlete, being beaten up in the ring like he has, and now, I know some people think some of it is fake, but I'm sure some of those blows were real. I'm no surprise he had a lot of musculoskeletal issues. However, people always ask, the heart, what happens to the heart? Do these individuals augment their muscles? Do they use steroids? Do they use certain things that can affect the heart? We see time and time again, bodybuilders, people who are very muscular, large athletes, sadly suffer from cardiomyopathy and heart issues. I'm not saying that's what happened with him. We will get more information as the day progresses, but unfortunately, the type of work he did does take its toll. And he was 71. I mean, still average male longevity, but I just wish he could have lived longer. I really liked Hulk Hogan. I think, I didn't watch a lot of WWE and WrestleMania when I was younger. So my first introduction to him was Rocky 3. And I knew who he was because I was like, okay, that's Hulk Hogan. I knew of him. But once I saw him in Rocky 3, I was like, oh, wait a second. Because they made him look like a bad guy. They made him look like he was completely out of his mind. He's beating up on Rocky, grabbing him by the crotch, throwing him over the ring. And, when you're a kid and you love Rocky, you're like, oh, hell no. No, you don't do that. And then Rocky comes back, beats him up. Sorry for the spoiler, but Rocky 3's been out for 40 years. And then you see him talk saying, oh, I want to get a picture for my kids. And then you see his soft side, which I think was brilliant in that movie, because we see these maniacs in the ring screaming and yelling and beating people up and pretending they're hitting him or really hitting people. And then you got to see that soft side of him where, this is a job. Well, let's take a picture. I forget his exact words. And so it was, to me, one of the first introductions to WrestleMania, WWE, these icons. And so seeing him gone, when Ozzy Osbourne died, and I had posted it, people had written, now that's 2. And they were saying that in terms of bad things happen in 3s. I see this all the time, where a celebrity dies, then another celebrity dies. And then people are predicting a third one is going to die. So Malcolm Jamal Warner died a few days ago. Ozzy Osbourne then left us. And then now Hulk Hogan. So is that really true that bad things happen in 3s? The number 3 has been very iconic, whether it's religion, whether it's other spiritualities that people have. Have I seen it in my life? Thank God, no. And I think the reason why is because once 4 and 5 comes, the whole 3 thing is off. But we do see patterns in nature. And I think the human psyche is always looking for patterns. They want to brace themselves. When 2 people die that are very well known, and they're thinking a third is coming, and then now people are saying, some are saying first Ozzy, second Hulk Hogan. Some of them are not putting Malcolm Jamal Warner up in that. For me, I am, because I'm hoping that's the third. That's it. No more. Please, no more. And Malcolm Jamal Warner was from my past. These iconic, individuals from your past make you start to think about your mortality and how, listen, if very wealthy people who have access to the best doctors, can meet their demise, it can happen to any of us. And it's not easy to see this. But the idea of bad things happen in 3s, I have never in medicine seen that. And it just, if a patient dies, I rarely had patients who died. I was very, very fortunate because we were right by a hospital, 911, our first responders. But we did have one person that had come in. He should have gone right to the hospital, and somebody brought him in, and his face, he had a tumor, and the tumor was encompassing his face. And I said, you got to go to the ER. And we sent him to the ER, and then he ended up not making it that night. And, I remember my staff was like, okay, that's 1. There's going to be 2 more, because we never had a patient that walked in and then later died. We always were very fortunate, but didn't happen. So the bad things come in 3s. I can't medically or scientifically confirm that that's a real thing, but I understand that people are very on edge. So may Hulk Hogan's family find strength and peace during this time, and may he rest in peace. 1-877 Daliah. Don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, the Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So we always promise to give you the breaking news. And this is breaking, although I'm not sure how impactful it's going to be. But the breaking news of the next, I guess, hour is how Joy Behar on The View, I guess, let slip that the show is going on hiatus. Now, they always take a summer hiatus. So I don't think that's news. But the media is making it sound like it's more than a summer vacation. Now, Joy Behar is 82 years old, and even though I don't agree with a lot of what she says, she looks good for her age. But she says, before we go on hiatus, we only have one more show after this. She says, I'm allowed to say that, right? And then I guess Alyssa Farah Griffin, who's the conservative, although she's not overly conservative, but she's kind of the conservative voice on the show. It's kind of like The Five, but the opposite on The View. She joked it's too late now, and a voice off screen said it doesn't really matter. And then I guess her co-host chimed in, etc. And so people are saying that this is happening because Donald Trump had called for its cancellation, as well as Jimmy Kimmel and I think Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show and other shows that are not very good. And all they are political. They're supposed to be comedy. The View, I give a pass because a very, very small pass. If their show is supposed to be a political show, then yes, they talk politics. I can't stand these late night comedians where they try to put off that the show is about comedy, like Saturday Night Live, and then all they do is rip on politics. Or rip on just one side. That to me is not entertainment. It's not fun. I don't mind if you rip on all sides and you make it funny. But if you're just ripping on Trump, that gets very old. If you like Trump, that gets old. If you don't like Trump, you don't want to be hearing about Trump while you're trying to watch late night comedy. But The View, I thought was, from what I understand, they always go on vacation. But everybody's saying, but they had their vacation. Whoopi Goldberg was gone. They played reruns. I don't know. I don't watch The View. Their viewership does pretty well. I think they get about 2.5 million a week viewers. But I think Harris Faulkner, the Faulkner Focus, has beat The View. Harris Faulkner is on Fox, and her ratings have surpassed The View during some weeks, which is pretty impressive considering Faulkner Focus is on Fox cable and The View is on network television. So that's pretty impressive. But my issue with The View is the concept is a good one. Let's talk about, Marvel movies. Let's talk about the Epstein files or whatever. Let's talk about something. And let's look at both sides. Let's debate both sides. They don't necessarily do that. It just ends up being a bunch of women complaining about Trump and complaining about politics. And it's I really thought it had a lot more potential. I'm a huge Whoopi Goldberg fan. Whoopi Goldberg is so talented. But then it just was all about politics and politics. And so for me, I don't watch those shows. I'm surrounded by politics. I need a break. But if it is really going on hiatus and they already have their vacation, what's going on there? Well, when we hear about the Stephen Colbert show, and my background not only is in medicine, it's also in PR, marketing. So when I kind of look at what's happening in the media, I have an opinion on it. And so seeing Stephen Colbert's show get canceled. Now, it's interesting. The claim is that they were losing $40 million a year. People say they aren't firing him because of his anti-Trump attitude, which I agree. I don't think they're firing him because he's anti-Trump, because all media is anti-Trump. So I don't think that's the issue. Why now? But are they losing money? Puck and the New York Post reported his show's losing $40 million a year. Now, if money was an issue, right, that would make sense. But I believe, and I don't know much about CBS and Paramount Plus, but I think they just made a deal with South Park where Paramount Plus is going to be streaming the South Parks, which is that South Park I like. I'm sorry. I don't know if I've watched the latest ones, but I love how South Park, makes fun of everything. That's comedy to me. Like I think they were making fun of the Ozempic shot and I don't know. But anyway, the Paramount has money, especially if they are buying the shows and the rights to South Park. That's a lot of money. From what I understand, it's a multi-billion-dollar deal, and CBS is part of Paramount Global, so they have money. If they really wanted to keep Stephen Colbert, they would, but maybe they don't like him. Maybe they also don't think he's funny. And so I think we might be seeing a turn of the tides. I know a lot of people don't really care what happens to one show or not. There's always these shows they come and go. But for me, I really rely on the entertainment industry to give us some real entertaining things. I'm sorry, I loved Game of Thrones. Last season kind of sucked, and I didn't like how the first season ended. But overall, I really liked Game of Thrones. For me to be looking forward every Sunday night to Game of Thrones, that's huge. I love the Lord of the Rings movies. I love the Star Wars movies, even the remakes. I thought The Phantom Menace was but still. And why? Well, because you're not sitting there just watching politics. They might infuse a little politics. I think Laura Dern was in one of the Star Wars and was kind of saying some anti-man thing. But if you could ignore that, it was pretty good. And that's what I want to see. And the only way you're going to get good quality shows is for crap to get canceled. Now, one thing that I think a lot of us who are more bipartisan and neutral and centrist want is to see the media less biased. But right now, everything you put on, any show, any news station, that really kills me that news is biased. I know I'm being naive in saying that, but why can't we just, there's riots in the UK. People are rioting about immigration, which we're going to be talking about also. All right, just talk about that. We have hostages that Hamas still has that they will not release from Israel. Just give us the news. We are hearing that people aren't getting aid in Palestine. Give us what is being reported. But then you start getting all the commentary, you start getting all this, and you can't watch the news anymore. I just want the news. Like I want the weather. What's the weather? What's the news? Just tell me what's going on. Like I got a news alert from Local News 3 that Hulk Hogan died. I knew about it before that news alert, but there's no commentary. No, well, he was pro MAGA. We just let me know what happened. And so if these shows start to read the room And these producers and the money behind them is going, wait a second here. Here's Fox News beating a lot of people in the ratings. Now Gottfeld beats The Late Show and, but also somebody could argue that Colbert, Fallon, Kimmel are splitting the votes and splitting, because there's too many. But then read the room. I mean, if you're trying to outnumber another show and that other show is still beating you, maybe it's because people don't want to hear all this anti-right rhetoric. Just give us comedy. Just be entertaining. Even music now. Yeah, well, music has always had underlying messaging. That's what music does. But it's like you can't escape politics, and that's what I want to do. I cannot wait for July 31st. July 31st, preseason football starts. And preseason usually sucks to watch. But there's such a dearth of things to take us away from politics that I cannot wait for July 31st. I will watch preseason football just to get away from the rest of it. And so I don't want to see shows canceled and people. I think Stephen Colbert is a very talented individual, but his show sucks. So we need consequences for there being crap entertainment. And then maybe they'll turn around and have better entertainment. And usually that involves no politics. The 1-877 Doc Dali.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. And we have some more breaking news. The cause of death of Food Network star Ann Burrell has been released. Now, many of us thought that something had happened, either an overdose or suicide, because she had been found with pills nearby. And the death of the 55-year-old chef and star was pretty abrupt and shocking and not expected. We didn't know that she had medical issues. She was pretty active and appeared pretty healthy. But People magazine confirmed that she did die by suicide. And the cause of death was determined as, quote, acute intoxication due to the combined effects of diphenhydramine, which is in Benadryl, ethanol, which is alcohol, cetirizine, which is Zyrtec, or the main active ingredient of Zyrtec, and then amphetamine that apparently she was using for a possible attention deficit. It could have been another form of amphetamine. But according to the New York City Medical Examiner's Office and People magazine, diphenhydramine, they say that she was found dead inside her Brooklyn apartment and in the shower, unconscious and unresponsive, surrounded by 100 assorted pills. So tragic. And she died about 5 weeks ago. Emergency medical teams responded to the home that she shared with her husband, Stuart Claxton. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, I'm shocked at suicide. The autopsy has been completed, but the exact cause, the exact cause is being attributed to suicide. But she was found in the shower. Now, I don't know much about suicide and planning, but if she was taking a shower at the time, then I wouldn't have thought that would be a suicidal moment. Many people would be dressed. They would be in an area. A lot of people will be in the bathroom. If they commit suicide, a friend of ours committed suicide, and he did so in the bathroom. So the kids wouldn't see it, and only the adult, his wife, would. So that it was, kids could be protected from that. Although, if God forbid I ever saw something like that, I would be screaming and telling the kids to come in and look. Not young kids, but the older. So I am kind of concerned that, if she was taking a shower, was it more of an accidental, or did she want to be found in the shower? Was she dressed in the bathtub? But they say she was in the shower. There's, and I understand if you're wealthy, you may have a shower separate from the bathtub. Every apartment I've been in, they're combined, right? One drain. But if you're wealthy, I get that a shower may be separate from a bathtub. And she was found in the shower. It's a little unique, but it happens. Her husband reportedly saw his wife alive at about 1 a.m. the night before, and then discovered her unconscious about 6 to 7 hours later in the bathroom. Now, did she overdose? Another question people ask is, can you overdose on Benadryl? Technically, yes. It could affect the heart. We don't want anybody doing that. But sadly, it is possible. You combine Benadryl and Zyrtec, or cetirizine, and alcohol and amphetamine, it could stop your heart. It's an odd combination. Now, that's why I'm wondering, was it an accidental ingestion? But they're saying it was suicide. Now, I don't know if there's a note, but, these are things that we kind of want answers to. Because when you have somebody who's as famous as she is, has regular job opportunities, money coming in, she has a happy outlook, she has an art that she's passionate about, if she would commit suicide, you start to wonder what's going on. And I'm just a little shocked that it was suicide and not a accidental ingestion. Artists can sometimes struggle with mental illness, not all of them. But oftentimes, when I have a patient who has severe bipolar, I'll ask them, what is their talent? Usually you don't ask directly. You're like, do you do something artistic? But 100% of the patients I've ever seen and taken care of who had severe bipolar had an art. And so I would just straight up ask, what's your art? What's your talent in? You must have a talent. And they'll all say, I paint, I sing, I'm a chef. They have something. Somebody can say, yeah, Daliah, but everybody can say there's no. I'm talking about these people really backed it up. I'm like, show me some of your work. And so we have something that I've noticed in the psychological realm, and I'm a family doctor, where people who have such artistry may also have a curse. It's the tasting of the higher octaves. So, if you ever play piano and you're like doing chopsticks, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that's only within one octave. But if you go beyond that to the high notes and the low notes, that's a gift to be able to hit those notes, whether it's singing, whether it's to feel, whether it's to see. That not a lot of people have that. There's a lot of people that are very concrete and they circle the equator. But the individuals who can circle the poles hence where bipolar comes from. They can both suffer from emotional upset and ups and downs, while at the same time having an amazing talent. If you ever watch Below Deck, you see the chefs be very volatile, very labile. They cry easily, very emotional. And it's a given. The more talented they are, the more you see how labile they are. The more gifted somebody is. See, me, I'm not very gifted. So it's like same old, same old. I was working with somebody at the EPA lab. Really, really nice guy. His name was Richard. And it was his birthday one day. I'm like, it's your birthday? Oh my gosh. Okay, we're taking you out. Let's go for drinks. It's your birthday? Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I would never say take off. I always worked on my birthday. But I'm like, I can't believe you're here. Let's go out. He's like, it's just another day. I go, but it's your birthday. No big deal. He circled the equator. Never really saw outbursts. Never saw him, upset. Just did his job. I thought he was, pretty smart, but maybe not the most creative. But so a chef. What I think where we go from here is if you have somebody in the family that's very, very talented, but you also see them very, very emotional, they could be at higher risk. And we've talked about suicide. Suicide isn't always about somebody being sad. The FCC has a number 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Hotline. There's also the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. But 988 is easier to remember. And 50 to 60,000 Americans take their life every year. 137 people a day, roughly. And, it's not always that they're sad. Sometimes they can't see around the problem. Sometimes they're in pain and they can't get pain medications and they just don't want to suffer. Sometimes they're impulsive. Sometimes they fear death so much that they're like, you know what? I don't want it to happen accidentally. I'm going to call it and I'm going to choose the time of day. Could also be that they're depressed. Could be that they're trying to make a statement, that they're angry. But these people need help, and it's just a shame to see Ann Burrell die. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Hi, guys. Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of the most fascinating things we did in medical school were autopsies. I didn't like doing them. It was sad. Oftentimes the bodies smelled. You had to use things under your mask to not get sick from the smell. But the art of looking back and trying to recreate and figure out what happened is a fascinating one. And sadly, sometimes we have to do autopsies. And autopsies are done when we have a lot of questions that we need answered and clarification so that in the future we know how to move forward, how to protect patients, or in terms of the Democratic National Committee, they're going to be performing an autopsy on what happened in the 2024 election. Now, if I was a Democrat, I would be like, thank you. That's fantastic. That's what we need to do. And an autopsy is thorough. We look at everything. But, again, the Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot. They are not doing a quote-unquote full-on autopsy. From what we understand, rather than really dissecting and figuring out what went wrong for the Democratic Party in the election, they're not really going to look at Kamala Harris's jumping into the race or that campaign. From New York Times journalists Reed Epstein and Shane Goldmacher says they are going to focus more on outside groups and super PACs and how they spent their money on advertising and other voter turnouts. Now, the top Democrats told them they are not. Now, you're doing an autopsy. If you're doing an autopsy of the election, just like in medicine, no stone gets unturned. Because the whole reason for you doing the autopsy is to find the root of the problem. But from what we're being told, and this is being reported by multiple news outlets, that they are not going to look at strategic decisions made by the campaign, such as if Biden should have stayed in the race or dropped out, or if Kamala Harris was the best person to run in their place. Okay, well then it's not an autopsy. I thought you were going to get to the root of what's going on. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, a thorough autopsy of what happened with the Democratic Party is vital. We're Americans first. How did they perform so badly? Now, they could have performed worse, right? I remember the Walter Mondale, Ronald Reagan election faintly. There's ways to perform worse, but, they need to figure out how to be successful. And I know a lot of people say, look, Daliah, it's just same old, same old. This is why they're never going to succeed. I want everybody to succeed. In America, we just can't have single party rule. And I want the Democrats finding out why things went wrong. And one of the things I think they went wrong is they thought they were preaching to the choir and not actually listening to what voters cared about. It took the Democrats a while to realize that wiping out student loan debt was not popular among the Democrats because many Democrats paid for their student loans. And to find out that they didn't have to, and now they're paid for other people's, no, not popular. Many Democrats also didn't go to college. They did trades. Pipe fitters, construction workers, plumbers. So they found out that probably wasn't as popular as they thought it would be. They want to buy college student votes, but not really popular. Taxpayers don't want their money going to abortion. Taxpayers don't want their money going to Planned Parenthood. They might be pro-choice, but that doesn't mean they want to be involved in the ending of a fetus's life. You got to read the room. Many of your supporters are legal citizens or legal immigrants. And if they went through a very arduous process to become a citizen, And now you throw out the rule book and let anybody come in who wants to. I think the biggest mistake Democrats made is they didn't listen to Democrats. They only listened to who they wanted to. And somehow they thought the biggest drivers would be Roe v. Wade overturn, which actually got the federal government out of abortion, which some people want, and allowing transgenders in sports, transgender males in women's sports. Now, I think the DNC might not, if they're already going to limit, what some of the mistakes they made, they're not doing a full-on autopsy. They're just trying to pat themselves on the back saying, okay, we need to double down on this. This is what we did good on. Okay, Biden was a mistake. He should have never run. Somehow they got him elected with mail-in ballots and anti-Trump warfare, whatever. But he was not a good candidate. When are you going to admit that? And then Kamala Harris, who failed miserably in the Democratic primary, was one of the first people out, barely polling. He chooses for his vice president. Not popular, apparently a bear to work with. People don't like her. And now we're supposed to love her and get behind her to be the first woman president. Even women. I spoke to Republican and Democratic women. They were nervous because they said if she ends up being the first female president and sucks, nobody's going to want to vote for a woman for years. And you know how long it took for them to shed the Hillary Clinton stereotype of being a possible first woman president? People did not want Hillary Clinton, the first woman president. Come up with somebody that people could get around. But the problem is they had to double down, double down, double down. So you're getting us all excited saying you're going to do an autopsy and you're going to actually look at what went wrong. And what went wrong is most of your blue collar workers who support your party were looking at you like, what the hell are you doing? Don't have boys shower with our daughters at school. Don't have us pay for abortions. Don't have us pay for other people's student loans, and be smart about the border and the economy. And the Republicans shouldn't have a monopoly on common sense thinking, but they do. And it sucks because there's a lot of common sense Democrats that don't get heard. I mean, look at what's happening with Zohran Mamdani. You have a socialist / communist, anti-Semite, that is supposed to be representing one of the biggest melting pots in America and can't even condemn Hamas and speak out for the hostages that they still have and speak against the globalization of the Intifada, speak out against his dad, who said a suicide bomber is a strategy and not barbarism. The Democrats have to make a choice. Are they going to back him or not? You got to poop or get off the pot. But what they're doing is they're like, well, if it looks like he's going to win, we have to support him because we don't want to look like we're against a winner who can later be our boss. Listen, if this is who you want to represent the Democrats, you're going to lose. Now, Mamdani may win mayor because the vote is going to be split among Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa. And I think there's a Walden or somebody else. He may win, but that doesn't mean you get behind something that I think is going to kill the Democratic Party. He's in a completely different party by himself, the Communist Party. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.